Cautious hopes for parts of the world economy have been emerging this week as U.S. Treasury Secretary Timothy Geithner travels to Europe and the Middle East, defending the Obama administration's economic policies. In news that lifts the spirits of investors, Goldman Sachs announced more than $3 billion in earnings for the second quarter. Factory outputs are up in the Eurozone, and industry leaders in Britain and Germany say they think the worst of the recession has passed.
The force of the global recession is now receding, and for the first time in several quarters, the IMF and a range of private analysts are starting to revise up their forecast for growth in the second half of the year and next year.
But with every glimmer of positive news, there are also warnings that the future is murky, possibly W-shaped, and that real recovery, when it comes, is likely to be uneven. Stratfor agrees with that guidance, but our analysts say the United States is the engine that eventually will pull the rest of the world out of the muck, and the U.S. economy will be picking up steam, however slightly, during the third quarter.
This is the beginning of what appears to be a recovery. We're not expecting to see dynamite growth in the third quarter, but there are definitely some factors that we're taking into account that look quite positive. First, we appear to have seen the peak in first-time unemployment rolls. And traditionally, whenever you have unemployment starting to taper off in the United States, that's an indicator that the recession is actually already over. It's a lagging indicator. The last thing that employers want to do is fire people. And so when you see the employment rolls starting to turn positive, in general, that means recovery is already on the way. Second is the balance of inventories to retail sales. Companies, whenever they face hard times, try to do everything they can to pare their inventories to the bone while not necessarily placing new orders. And so you see inventories typically fall all through recessions. At the same time in the United States, retail sales really haven't fallen. And especially if you remove vehicle sales, retail sales are actually almost positive. Now, if you're going to have stagnant retail sales and negative inventories, eventually you get to a point where the inventories run dry. And what we've seen in the last couple of months is manufacturers' indexes, the idea that orders are again now being placed, are turning positive.
The manufacturing economies of Asia will be the next to find firm ground.
The Asians are definitely going to be coming in second to the Americans in terms of economic growth, but not for really any reasons that they've managed to generate at home. With U.S. manufacturing starting to pick up, with U.S. orders for new manufactured goods for import starting to pick up, Asia is the natural beneficiary of that. While they may collectively generate about the same amount of industry in manufacturing as the United States, almost all of theirs is geared towards foreign consumption. For example, China, which everybody knows is a world manufacturing center, actually only has internal demand about the same size as that of Spain, a mid-sized European economy. They're far more dependent on shipping their goods abroad than they are able to fulfill that demand at home. Japan has suffered of the major industrialized economies the most. Their economy is wholly dependent upon change in the international system to generate their growth. Their export economy, even though it's only about 10-15% of GDP, is the only part of the economy that has had any real dynamism since 1989. In Japan, the fallout of confidence is actually starting to eat into their domestic sales to the point that the zero growth they've had in domestic sales for the last 20 years is now turning sharply negative. And in real terms, the Japanese economy is about 10% smaller now than it was just a year ago. They have not had a year this bad since 1945. There is no prognosis for change in this situation. At best, they can hope to stabilize at their current levels. Japan really is a spent force.
In Europe, the best news is coming from Germany, where industrial output surged to a 16-year high in May, and the economy ministry believes the recession has ended. GDP apparently leveled off at 0% growth for the second quarter, welcome news after a year of contraction. But the outlook for Europe as a whole remains bleak, and recovery is not expected until well past the third quarter.
Europe falls between Asia and the United States in terms of their economic makeup. The United States, for the most part, is not very dependent upon its exports to the rest of the world. Asia is utterly dependent. The Europeans are right in the middle. They've got a robust domestic economy, but they still use a lot. They're still very, very interested in what happens with their exports. Normally, that's a good thing. But the problem that this recession has uncovered in Europe is a banking crisis that is far more severe than what is facing the United States. The Europeans had to deal with American subprime, European subprime, overextension of credit to the new Euro members, overextension of credit to the new Central European Union members. They've had to deal with problems in underwriting. They've had to deal with fraud. The entire European banking network is less healthy than probably the weakest of their American counterparts. And yet the Europeans, because they've been so convinced that this recession is the Americans' fault and they're waiting for the Americans to lead the way out, have not even started basic mitigation measures. In fact, they're not even going to finish their assessment of banks' health on a national level until September, at the end of the third quarter. At that point, the mitigation that the United States started last September will be a year old, and the American banking sector will be back to health. And so while the Europeans will get a little bit of a boost from the American recovery as in demand for European exports, their domestic system remains mired in recession. And so while most of Europe has been looking at a recession, a contraction in the 6 to 8% range. Bear in mind the United States has only shrunk by about 2.5%. This isn't the end of them. It'll probably let up somewhat. We'll probably get back down to back up to the 3 and the 4% contraction for the rest of the year and maybe next year. But they have yet to take the steps necessary to heal themselves at home. And there's only so much the U.S. market can do to help them until they do that.
In the meantime, the ugly underside of economic strains, social unrest and ethnic tensions will likely continue to play out in several parts of Europe during the third quarter.